Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we are currently making some solid progress, theoretically anyway, on how the routes are going to work. One thing that I did notice is we are clicking on a line, right-clicking, it should still select the route. So let's go ahead and say business.selectedRoute equals route. Okay, now we're going to need to initiate a drag up here. Alternately, left mouse clicked on a line, get hex under this, and put in a waypoint there. So here's essentially what we're looking at. Let me, well, that's quasi-convenient. This was for a octagonal thing, but that's not really what we're looking for. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that we've got, you know, like a couple of nodes. We've got, say we've got a node here, a node here, and a node here, and they are connected about like such. About like so. There we go. So, essentially what I'm saying is, or what we're implementing here is, if we click on a hex out here, it would be a lot less confusing if I just went in here. If we click on a hex out here, then that's going to append a new waypoint to there, and it's going to go ahead and do that. Like so, and connect that up. And that's all well and good. But then, if you click in here, then what that's going to do is that will create a new waypoint right here, ish, at the nearest hex. And it will create, in this line, a break, right where that is. And then you'd be able to click and drag this up here, and then the route itself would follow. So you'd be able to put in a new stop in the middle of a route without having to redo the whole thing, or add on to a route out here. Either of those would work fine. And then you would essentially be able to drag around the waypoint handles, and that would be reasonably intuitive, right? So that should be fine. So let's go ahead and do a public bool dragging equals false. We'll also need a private void on mouse up, called when the user has released the mouse button. And I believe that is not called when you use the mouse button, release the mouse button over this. Let's find out, actually. Debug.log mouse up. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this for right now. As soon as it compiles. Come on, Unity. You'll be fine. I just want to double check that this is called when the mouse is not currently over the collider. I believe it is. I believe it's called on every object that implements it when the mouse is up, which is exactly what I want. Otherwise, we'd have to do it in an update, which I would really prefer not to do, because potentially that could get very expensive, implementing that many updates. So let's just double check here, and see how exactly this works. Okay, we'll go ahead and skip that tutorial. In we go. Blah, blah, blah. We will buy land. Confirm. Route management. Create route. Bam. Okay. Yeah, I know that this hex doesn't contain a waypoint. That's perfectly fine. Okay, it looks like it does not in fact work. Wait, where did the route marker go? Oh, are we in the wrong hex? We're in the wrong hex. So you can see the route marker there, just barely from that view. You can't really see it at all from this view. You can just barely make it out right there. Okay, so yeah, it's called when the left mouse is released over the object in question. That is really not what we're looking for. So instead, we're going to need to rework how we're doing this. This is going to need to go into an update, and then we're going to need to do a check for if input.getMouseButtonDown 0 or input.getMouseButtonDown 1. No, not get button down, get mouse button down. Okay, I was wondering why that was freaking out. We would need to do then this. And then we'll need to do the same thing for if input.getMouseButtonUp 0 or input.getMouseButtonUp 1. Like so. And now that will do exactly what I want it to do. It's a little unfortunate that we have to do this in an update, but it's only going to be running if business.interaction mode is not equal to interaction.edit root, and it's also only going to be running on the frames where the mouse button is pressed or released. So it shouldn't be too bad, theoretically. There'll be a small overhead hit from calling the update function on all of them, but shouldn't be too bad. And realistically, there'll be fewer roots than there are hexes anyway. That's the entire point. Okay, so we now have our click on a waypoint, so we can select the waypoint. Left mouse clicked on waypoint to initiate drag. Can that happen on the origination point? I don't see why not. So then we'd need to just say dragging equals true. Like so. Okay. So, realistically, in the building hex, this is implemented in what? On mouse over? Yeah, that should be fine. Should we move this from an update to an on mouse over? These things can only be done if the mouse is over it anyway, right? I mean, we're still going to need to do the raycast, but I think on mouse over would be a more, or rather a less expensive function, a more efficient function to use here than update. So we'll go ahead and use on mouse over. If it causes issues, we can switch over. So, blah 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 blah, that's all fine. So when the mouse is released, we definitely, if we're moused over it, we definitely want to, I'm just thinking about this right now, but I shouldn't be. If we release the mouse button, we definitely want to just double check for if input.getMouseButtonUp 0. We don't want this to happen if you release the right mouse, only the left mouse. Then we can say dragging equals false for sure. There's no real way around that. Dragging would definitely equal false. Now this is only on mouse over. Which might be a problem, potentially. Yeah, I think this one does actually have to be an update. Because, reason being, when we're in that perspective view, if there's a box right here, say, and you drag it from, you drag it to here, but you drag it from here to about here, and the box is here, that's not going to release the dragging even though you released the button. And that's not going to feel intuitive. So I think we do need to go ahead and have it be an update. Yeah, I think that's going to have to be the case. This does only happen in edit route mode. We'll see how slow it ends up getting. It probably shouldn't be too bad, especially if we ditch these debug logs. So we're going to ditch those 2 debug logs. This one is unimplemented. We'll go ahead and label that as such. Left mouse click to line, get hex under this, and put a waypoint in there. The question then is, do we fire a ray downward from hit.point and grab the building hex that's underneath it? Well, do they have a particular layer that they're in? They have a tag. But I don't think they have a particular layer. Yeah, they're in the default layer. We could potentially move them over. I'm not sure if we have any layer mask issues that would create. There's a possibility. So yeah, that's one way we could do that. But for right now, I think we'll leave this unimplemented. And instead, let's go ahead and go into our building hex. And we will debug.log unimplemented waypoint to be dragged. And we'll implement that soon enough. But for right now, we'll leave it like that. And then up here, if there's a selected route, remove the selected route, else throw error. So that's easy enough. If business.selectedRoute is not equal to null, then all we got to do is theoretically destroy business.selectedRoute.gameObject, and then well, it would automatically equal null, right? But we'll go ahead and set it. Selected route equals null. Else, we would want to throw the error. So, business.errorText.throwError, attempting to remove unknown, or attempting to remove route with no route selected. Sure, we'll go with that. Okay, so there's the remove route theoretically implemented. So waypoint interactions are handled in waypoint.cs. If we're dragging a waypoint, this is handled in getMouseButton0. Otherwise, we just want to append a new waypoint to the selected route, which is going to be pretty much this right here. So we're going to do a vector3 pose equals business.hexManager.getBuildingHexPosition hex ID. We could just use the building hex position, but again, I want to make this genericized so that we can potentially be using hypothetical hexes that aren't actually there currently. It's a little complicated, but we'll go ahead and say we have our position, so we need to say if business.selectedRoute, then we add to it via business.selectedRoute.addWaypoint at the position specified, else business.errorText.throwError must have a route selected to do what? To add a waypoint. Okay. Easy enough. Easy enough. So waypoint dragging is not implemented yet, as well as it's not appending waypoints, it's not prepending waypoints, it's kind of impending waypoints. If that makes any sense. I don't think that's a word. Anyway, we should be able to add a waypoint and see if our path generation is working. It probably won't be. There's a lot of things we implemented without testing, which is always exciting. But let's just test this real quick here. That came out a bit weird. But let's test this real quick here. So we know that we can spawn the waypoint. And then we can go ahead and add in... Let's go ahead and skip this. Let's hop in here. Buy land. Purchase this hex. Sure, why not? I guess we'll go ahead and demolish it. There we go. We'll create a route. Bam. Null reference exception. Waypoint.cs line 51. There isn't a main camera. Do we not have our camera tagged as main camera? We have it tagged as camera. Okay. We'll have to fix that real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So we'll say private camera, main camera, and then that would be main camera equals, and this is just called main camera. So game object dot find, and we'll just use the name main camera. Okay. Dot get component camera. Excellent. Okay, and then we would need to do main camera. There we go. Now, I don't like doing it this way. Is the UI camera tagged in a similar fashion? Actually, it isn't. It's untagged. That's fascinating, actually. With that being untagged, that means that we could do GameObject.find object with tag camera. Oh, what's the method called? GameObject.find GameObject with tag. Okay. Dot get component camera. Okay. So now we'll test this real fast. Come on. Go ahead and compile. There you go. Okay, so we'll test this. And now this should not give us a null reference exception. The reason we were getting that is because camera.main returns a main camera tagged with main camera, but our camera is tagged with camera for some reason. We have a separate tag layer for that. I'm not sure why that exists. I don't remember, but don't want to change it now. It might break something obscure. Probably will break something obscure with my coding. Okay, so let's head on in here, and we will go ahead and buy some land. I guess we'll buy this forest hex. I don't think I've ever bulldozed a forest before. That was actually pretty satisfying. We'll create a route here. Boink. Okay, we'll make sure that we have our route selected. That took us out of the interaction mode. That's interesting. We'll go back into edit route mode. This hex doesn't contain a waypoint. Unimplemented waypoint to be dragged. I feel like that's not supposed to work that way. Hang on. Let's check the building hex. I feel like that was supposed to spawn a waypoint. So, on mouse over, if we left click on edit mode, yeah, that was definitely supposed to do that. Did we maybe get a null reference? Left mouse clicked a line. Did it spawn the waypoint in the wrong position? No, it just didn't spawn a waypoint. Okay, that's a little confusing. The other thing is that when we right-clicked on the hex, it went into interaction mode.none. So, if we go up here, on mouse over is apparently being called here, essentially on this hex and also on this hex, or on this guy. Because you notice it went into interaction mode none there. That's interesting. Well, it's time to put another cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we will try to unravel the mysteries of the edit root mode. See you all then.